Let me invite our esteemed moderator for the first session of the day, themed around decoding customer mapping, strategies for enhanced engagement and growth. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Parijat Aggarwal, co-founder and COO, Metacube Software Private Limited, to moderate the session. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. It is also a pleasure to welcome our distinguished speaker, Mr. Arvind Thakur, CEO, NIIT. Mr. Thakur's insights and expertise will undoubtedly enrich the discussion on customer mapping and strategies for business growth. Welcome, sir. Over to you for this very pertinent discussion.
Hello. I was hoping that this session would be a bit later in the day, but I realized that this is the first thing in the morning. So welcome to all the attendees to this session around customer mapping, bright and early in the morning. I'm glad that Sriram spoke before us, and he has given us the wake-up call. The wake-up call being that, like the Peter Diamandis said, that companies will either use AI or they will be out of business. So hopefully that has waken up all of us. So it's a constant endeavor of all the SMEs to find new customers. And since products are fruits of mind, software and services delivered digitally worldwide without limitations of geography and time, it becomes very difficult for us as SMEs to focus our efforts. And usually we are all over the place. Right? Customers are the lifeblood of any organization. Without serving needs of customers, an enterprise or an organization actually cannot exist. Besides being source of income, customers also give us valuable feedback, which basically helps us improve our services and products, provided we listen to it, right? And then satisfied customers, they can become basically our advocates, and they can help attract more customers like themselves and expand our market reach. So we are very fortunate today to have with us Mr. Arvind, who was part of the founding team of NIIT. He was the promoter and part of the initial team of NIIT back in 1985. Over the next few decades, as the president of NIIT, he grew it into a behemoth, which we all know now. From being a SME, navigating all the challenges of those many decades, and growing NIIT to be whatever it is. Arvind, please tell us about yourself and share your journey and advice to the SMEs around customer mapping.
Thank you very much, Parijat. First of all, I'd like to thank NASSCOM for giving me this opportunity to interact with you. Sriram very eloquently explained the work which is being done by the council, and I think one of the important things that is being done by NASSCOM is to create forums to exchange experiences. So the purpose of my interacting with you today really is to share my own experiences on some of the things that we need to recognize early in the organization to be able to build the organization in a manner that enables us to engage with our customers and grow our business. So Parijat asked me to give a little background. As he already pointed out, I'm part of the promoter group of NIIT, which pioneered computer education in this country. But in the founding team, I was the only person who had written some lines of code, so I was given the responsibility of growing the software business for the company, which we created in 2004. The company was NIIT Technologies. which we grew and scaled. And in 2019, as part of an orderly succession plan, we brought in a new young CEO who put together a new team, and we brought in a strategic partner by selling a stake in the company. And the company is now called Coforge, which is growing from strength to strength and now a billion-dollar corporation. And I'm sure everybody in this room also aspires to become a billion-dollar corporation. And so I'd like to talk about a few things early that we need to look at in an organization to set the foundation of building a large corporation. And everybody sitting in this room are entrepreneurs and leaders who are going to be building large corporations. Now, we all know that the customer is king, right? It's the customer who really contributes to our well-being and our growth. But the important thing to recognize, particularly in our industry and the businesses that we serve, which are predominantly around technology products and services, is that customers are not just buying our products and services, but are actually buying the complete experience. And so the way we deliver that service is as important as the service itself. And that experience is delivered by people in the organization. And so when we are looking at customer mapping, what we need to understand and appreciate is that the various touch points in the organization where the customer engages with us, they're actually engaging with our people. And so, as an organization, it's important for us to look after our people because it's our people who look after customers. I think this insight is something that we realized early on in NIIT when we were small, about 100, 150 people. I recollect we had an offsite in which we said, we may get into many businesses in the future, but what is the essential DNA of the organization? And so we had a 3-day workshop where we articulated the values and beliefs of the organization. And there we came to the conclusion that when we are putting down the statements associated with the values and beliefs of the organization, the discussion was, should the set of statements associated with our people come first, or should a set of statements associated with our customers come first? And we concluded that it's the statements associated with our people that need to come first because it's the people who look after our customers. So if you look at the values and beliefs statement of the organization, it starts with the growth of the organization is a derivative of the growth of each one of us, which means that if people in the organization are growing, the company will grow. Talks about recognizing that people can make mistakes and mistakes contribute to the learning. So if you want to create an innovative culture, you don't come down hard upon people who make mistakes, but you learn from those mistakes. And so by keeping people first, you are actually creating a culture amongst the organization. And the important thing is to build that service culture, because it's the people who will be the touch points, whether it's in sales, whether it's in delivery, whether it's in account management, all the touch points are driven by people, and therefore, early in the organization, create that sense that you will look after your people so that your people look after your customers.
Thank you, Arvind. So for SMEs, Arvind, 2023 was a tough year. 2024 has come up with its own challenges. At the same time, we have the opportunities which are coming from AI. So whether it is 2023, 2024, for SMEs, getting customers, acquiring customers is always a very tough challenge and a perennial problem. So how should we go about acquiring customers? If you could share your thoughts about
I think acquiring customers is always a challenge for SMEs. In fact, as leaders in your organization, I'm sure 70 to 80% of your time is engaged in this activity of really seeing how do we acquire customers and how do we grow our customer base. I think the starting point is to clearly define your value proposition. Okay? And the value proposition needs to be aligned with the theme of the markets that you're serving. So, you know, in the 2000s, the theme was doing more with less, and the focus really was around cost arbitrage. Okay, 2010s, with the consumerization of technology, availability of mobile devices, customers started looking at their technology partners to take them on this journey of leveraging this new technology to drive more value in their business. And so the value proposition of organizations became around providing those digital services. Now we heard about more emerging technologies like AI, you know, which are creating complete disruption. And so the theme is around engaging with emerging. Within that theme, you need to be very specific about what are you trying to communicate to the segments that you're addressing. And when you're small, it's important to become very sharply focused. So it's not adequate to say, you know, that, I'm servicing the travel industry or I'm servicing the insurance industry. You know, that's very large. You need to be more specific. Is it PNC? Is it life? Okay. Is it airlines? Is it cruises? In fact, you have to be even more specific and talk about specific processes. Okay, are you focused on pricing? Are you focusing on revenue management? Where are you focusing? So I think you have to sharpen your communication in your value proposition. That becomes step one. Then obviously, then you need to use all the levers that are available to communicate that value proposition. And that begins by lead generation. Lead generation can happen through a sales team which is making cold calling, or you have an inside sales team which is setting up appointments for you, or you're participating in seminars and exhibitions and interacting with people. Essentially, you have to be there meeting people and engaging with people. Now, once you get a lead, for a small company, it's very important to qualify that lead. All right, because you can't be chasing everything. You know, going after business requires a lot of effort. And so it becomes very important to make sure that, you know, all the leads that you're getting, you know, at least there is a 70, 80% chance of converting that. Otherwise, leave it and move on to the next. And so you need to interact with the potential organization, do a lot of research to understand their pain points, make sure that what you have to offer and say aligns by addressing those pain points. The customer has a need, the customer has the money, okay? And you're able to build a sponsor within the organization who will help navigate through the organization and help you get that business. So this whole process of qualification becomes extremely important. Once you've qualified and you have engaged with the customer, then the next step really is to provide and offer your solution. But when you're offering a solution, see, don't talk technology. Talk the business language. Talk about why does the customer need to change? Why does he need to change now? And then come to how can you provide and, you know, enable that change. So always, you know, communicate in the language of the customer. Of course, you're not alone. Once the customer sees that there is, you know, a solution available, he's probably going to be talking to your competition. You need to have a competition strategy. You need to be able to communicate how your service or product is superior to your customer. You need to have a relationship strategy. You need to map the organization, understand who the decision makers are, and ensure that they are aligned to engaging with you. So these are the steps, that you need to go through with every lead that you generate in the organization. And it's very important. It's very important that, of course, initially, when you just started your company, you're going to be doing this all by yourself, right? Because you are going to be there in the marketplace. But over a period of time, you'll probably have a sales force which is helping you do that. It's very important that the leads that you generate and the opportunities that you pursue are such that once you acquire that customer, there is adequate headroom for growth. Very important. Because as we all know, acquiring new business is far more difficult than getting business from the same client. So if you get a customer which is a one-off project, well, you have to start again and then acquire new customers. But if you get a customer who has headroom for growth, then you can get repeat business. And so you can engage with the customer and mine that account to grow and scale your business.
Right.
So these are some of the things, which are important for a small organization to be able to acquire new customers. Please make sure that the accounts that you acquire, and normally that is done through research, you go after specific named accounts. Okay, don't spray and pray and hope somebody comes to you. Identify the accounts, do research, and make sure that you are chasing those accounts which are worthwhile acquiring that enable you to grow. Now, to ensure that your field force is effective, they need to be monitored. One of the practices which are very useful to implement right early on in the organization, which becomes part of the DNA, is to get your sales team to fill in daily call reports. All right? Very difficult to do, but make sure that that becomes a practice in the organization. In the good old days, we used to get them to fill it, by hand every day. And in fact, our salespeople would not get their travel reimbursements if they're not filled in their daily call reports. Today, of course, you have a good number of sales management tools.
So we have built a product for that.
Oh, you have a product for that. So, catch hold of Parijat.
Which people can buy.
We'll be able to help you with that. The third point which I wanted to make was that don't give unrealistic goals to your sales team. All right? What we have seen is that hunting, which is going and getting new accounts, is difficult. Farming is far easier. Once you're already there, the customer already knows you, it's easier, to get business, and repeat business is always easy.
Arvind, I think one thing which came out in our conversation was very interesting, that 90% of revenue growth, new revenue, actually comes from an existing customer. And only 10%, 5 to 10% comes from new customers. And yet, as SMEs, we are always chasing the next new customer without focusing on the existing ones. So that is what
Good point you raised. I think if you really examine your business, particularly if you are in the technology services business, you will see that 90% of your revenues are coming from existing customers. New customers that you acquire give you business in subsequent years when they become existing customers. So when you're doing your planning and a budgeting exercise, and you look at, where is the revenue going to come from? And if your team is saying, I'm going to get more than 10% revenues from new clients, chances are you're not going to meet your number. All right? Because by the time you acquire and start building, very little revenue comes in the first year. So if you examine the balance sheets of IT services companies, you will not find more than 10% revenues coming from new customers. When those new customers become old customers, they start generating revenues. And so it's also important to segregate your field force. Those focus on acquiring new customers, which are called hunters, and those focused on mining and developing existing clients, which are called farmers, right? And farmers' profile is also slightly different from a hunting profile. A hunting job is very difficult. You knock at 10 doors, 9 of them throw you out. One person perhaps wants to listen to you, and you have to navigate your way through, and that's a very, very different personality. On the other hand, a farmer is engaging with somebody who already knows you. And so he can go across and, talk easily. He's not going to get thrown out. People will listen to him. And so the profile is also very different. Now, it's very important, again, to formalize the process. Just like you have a sales management tool for acquiring new customers and building a pipeline, you need to formalize the process of account management. It's very important when you look at your customer base to have special focus on your top 5 and top 10 clients, for which you build an account plan. A good account plan has 4 components. Number 1, an overview of the industry, what are the new trends, what are happening over there, and what are the business plan of your client. That needs to be very clearly documented so that everybody engaged with that client understands what are the discontinuities that you can take advantage of to engage with your customer. The second is the opportunity plan. Within this framework of what's happening in the industry and what's happening within your organization, what are the opportunities for you to engage? The third, and when you're looking at the client overview, you have his complete IT landscape, you have his complete vendor landscape, you know everything about the organization. And so when you're looking at the opportunities, you can see exactly where you have the strengths and where your competition has the strength. And the third is an attack plan. How do I get that opportunity converted into business? And that requires, I would say, multi-layered engagement, relationship building, where you as the head of the organization would be engaging with the head of the other organization. Your project manager will engage with the head of the project team on the other side, and they'll all be comparing notes. And finally, a review where you're looking at which are the opportunities that you're able to address, how you're building that pipeline, and how you're progressing against this. Typically, for large clients, an account planning document would run into 30 to 40 pages. It's very comprehensive. And you need to have an executive sponsor who's reviewing that to make sure that the plan is being adhered to. So it's good to put these foundations into place to scale an account.
See, we will need a master class or you to publish a book or something like that, because there is, for a 20-minute session, this is a lot of very, very good pearls of wisdom. Just, so in interest of time, because we are getting close to our session, I know you wanted to talk about the, how do you build a customer satisfaction as the main culture or main foray for your delivery organization. So after sales has happened, how do you measure customer satisfaction? What do you do about it? And in parting, if there are any pearls of wisdom that you want to share with the SMEs, please do so. Yeah.
The best indicator of customer satisfaction is your bills receivables. If the customer is not paying you on time, he's not too happy. All right, so those organizations which have large bills receivables, your salesperson may come back with all kinds of reasons why he's not able to collect the money, but at the heart of it is, for some reason, he's not happy. All right, so that's the best indicator. But the measure which I have found most useful is the Net Promoter Score, NPS. Many of you would have heard that. You ask a very simple question in your customer satisfaction survey, and that is, would you be willing to refer my organization to others on a scale of 1 to 10? And those who give 9 and 10 are the promoters, and those who give 6 and less are the detractors. The number of promoters minus the number of detractors, percentage of that is your net promoter score, right? Very, very useful indicator. Very useful indicator. Which we have used very effectively. You may want to use it, with your clients, your customers, and your customer base. It's a very effective method. But the way to increase your net promoter score is what I alluded to right in the beginning, which is to create that service culture within the organization by getting your team aligned and thinking around delivering superior service. It's very important because as an organization, not interacting with your customer, it's the people in the organization who are interacting with your customer. And what I've seen is there is nothing more powerful or nothing more motivating than a purpose to get your team aligned. And so try to build an engaging vision for the organization and get your team aligned to that vision. If you can do that, everything else will flow naturally, and that culture that you're looking for will get built in the organization. I'm a firm believer, just as a parting note, as you said, I'm a firm believer that a supervisor's role is not to supervise. So if you are a leader in the organization, your role is not to supervise, all right, but to create a superior vision. When you supervise and say, do this, do that, I want you to do this, you're actually shifting the responsibility of the team to yourself. So you become the bottleneck. On the other hand, if you create a superior vision, I want 0 defects in that delivery, and get the team aligned to that, then everybody takes responsibility and makes sure it happens. So I'll just leave with that, Parijat.
No, excellent. I think the leadership has the word thought in front of it. Thought leadership. Don't become a manager, but become a thought leader through vision, and then lead your organization. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Arvind, for sharing your nuggets.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for touching all facets of the discussion from peaks to valleys. Basis the discussion, it would be incorrect to say that customers fuel an organization. They don't fuel the organization, they are the organization. To felicitate our speakers, I now take the opportunity to invite on stage Mr. Arunabha Ghosh, CEO, Blue Copper Technologies. Thank you, sir. Capturing the moment with a group picture. Thank you, gentlemen.